How and why should Christians rejoice? Three times in the Apostle Paul's letter to the Christians in Philippi, he tells them to rejoice. In Philippians 2:17-18, he says, "But even if I am being poured out like a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice with all of you. In the same way, you too should be glad and rejoice with me." In Philippians 3:1, he instructs his readers, "Finally, my brothers, rejoice in the Lord." And in Philippians 4:4, he tells them, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice." What does Paul mean? Paul's instruction in these verses can seem rather strange to some Christians. He tells his readers to rejoice. Yet, isn't joy a feeling that people simply may or may not happen to have? Surely Paul isn't telling the Philippians to choose to feel a certain way. You see, in a sense, this puzzlement is understandable. It is certainly true that joy is something that can be felt, and it is true that Christians should never try to manufacture feelings of any kind within themselves. Nevertheless, there must be some course of action that Philippians could taken to rejoice. Otherwise, Paul's words could be meaningless. Surely what he means is that his readers should consciously choose to reflect on things that they are glad about. In Philippians 2:17 and 18, he is telling them to reflect on how good it is that they are Christians and that they are growing in the faith. And in 3:1 and 4:4, he is instructing them to reflect on all that the Lord is to them and has done for them. All Christians should rejoice. In Philippians 4:4, as I have noted, Paul tells the Philippians to rejoice in the Lord always. There is no doubt that this is a commandment which applies to Christians in each century of the church. In fact, it makes sense to think that we should rejoice in all the positive things in our lives. Every good thing we experience comes from God, so rejoicing in anything good is really a kind of indirect way of rejoicing in the Lord anyway. Today then, as Christians did in the first century, we should choose to focus and reflect on positive things in our lives, the things we are glad about, and above all this will include what God is to us and has done for us. Rejoicing in all circumstances. Importantly, rejoicing is something that we need to do regardless of our circumstances. When a Christian life is relatively easy and has many things they enjoy, they should spend time reflecting on how positive those things are. However, even when life is very hard, it is important for us to rejoice. We can learn about rejoicing in difficulty from the example of the prophet Habakkuk. In Habakkuk 3:17-18, he says, "Though the fig tree does not blossom, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crops fails, and the fields produce no food, though the flock is snatched from the sheepfold, and there are no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be thankful in the God of my salvation." Habakkuk is saying that even if all sources of food disappear, that will not stop him rejoicing in God. Even in a dire situation like this, he will continue to reflect positively on all that God is to him. If you are going through difficult times, Habakkuk's attitude is a great one to try to imitate. Why is rejoicing important? So, rejoicing is something we can choose to do in obedience to God's command. But why does He acquire it of us? Why is it so important that we can make the effort to focus on things we are glad about? There are a number of reasons. Firstly, there's a simple fact that God loves us and wants to bless us. He knows that if we are focusing on the good things we experience, this will be a blessing to us. Secondly, if we are dwelling on the positive aspects of our life, it will be easier to endure the negative parts. Rejoicing will encourage and comfort us. And thirdly, the more we rejoice, the less inclined we will be to feel sorry for ourselves. Self-pity is a sin that hinders our relationship with God. And fourth, the more we focus on the good things we experience, the more inclined we will probably be to feel grateful to God. Thanking Him for what He does for us is very important. Finally, concentrating on the good things the Lord has done for us can help to increase our faith and reduce doubt and unbelief. All these things are important for our Christian walk, and deliberate rejoicing serves as a fuel to strengthen them.